Good afternoon, all you thoughtfully made people out there. It's Courtney Morrison with Made Architecture and Design, back with another week in review. Last weekend, my wife was doing a women's retreat, and so my daughter and I hung out together on Saturday all day. We got some time at the park with some other dads whose wives were at the retreat, and it was a really nice day, and it was a really great time outside. On Sunday, we did church and then had brunch with my wife's family to celebrate her parents' 45th wedding anniversary as well as both their birthdays. And it was a really nice time just with the adult members of the family, no kids around, just to sit and eat a meal and enjoy each other's company, which is pretty rare, even though we all live relatively close together to get together without kids. So that was a lot of fun. On Monday, back in the studio, we had a call. On Monday morning, we have a client who runs a nonprofit, and they purchased some decommissioned school trailers to convert into modular kitchens to install in communities where there are food deserts or food needs, things like that. And so he is trying to install one at a church here in the metro area, the first one. And so we've worked with him to get the plans and drawings together, and now it looks like we've zeroed in on a site. And so we had a call with planning and zoning to be able to kind of nail down some of the specifics and make sure that we would be able to put those where needed and meet all of the jurisdictional requirements as well. So that was good. They were really helpful and really nice and very responsive to what it is he's trying to do. So glad we could be there for him. We also went out to a little ways outside of the city at a HOA who had gotten in touch with us to design a restroom building that had been part of a planned community, but in the '08 recession didn't get built. And so the HOA is coming back now to try to build out some of the amenities that got left off. And so we went out to see the site and meet the contact there for the HOA and talk through some of the challenges that we were seeing. It was me and a landscape architect that I like to work with. And so really a pretty challenging situation. I mean, it's a small building and the jurisdiction has their requirements, and they want updated surveys and updated land disturbance permits and things like that. And so what looks like a really small building on paper kind of balloons into a much bigger project. And so really what we're working to do is put together a due diligence report for that owner, for that client, really to line the process up for them, tell them what it is they need to do, how they need to do it, and that way they can use that when talking to contractors or even other design professionals, that the due diligence report would be done for them. So we'll see where that goes. And then on Tuesday, working with my wife on a little rebranding, some of the stuff that we've just been working through and talking about with the company, with the brand, things like that, as we kind of build what I think of as Made 2.0. The YouTube channel is part of that. So worked on that a little bit on Tuesday, a lot on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, sat down, started working on a sales funnel and documenting all the potential prospective clients I have, as well as projections for the year, filling out this spreadsheet and kind of wrapping my brain around the financial aspect of the business, which admittedly is not really something that I've done to this point. So it's a new exercise for me, and it's eye-opening and necessary and good. And thankfully, I have somebody who's sort of coaching me through it, and I'm very appreciative of that. So that was Wednesday, and then our Wednesday morning, and then I went and had lunch with a former employer who started and grew a great firm here in the city. I obviously left there, but on good terms, and he agreed to have lunch with me, and I just wanted to talk shop with him. I mean, he's been in business longer than I've been alive, and so it was really nice to sit down and talk with him and catch up a little bit and just hear about some of some of his wins, some of his failures, some of the things that he thought that I could do differently in my business and stuff. And so really great. I've talked about this before. If you don't have people like that in your life, you definitely got to find them. It's a worthwhile endeavor to find mentors who can help you. So that was Wednesday. Thursday, a little bit of time. My daughter was sick, and so normally where my wife and I would be working together on the mornings for marketing stuff and media stuff, she was with our daughter. And so doing a little bit of work on the reflected ceiling plan project at the dining hall that I have. I hoped that would be done by now, honestly, but it's just taking a little bit longer, a little bit more detail involved in that than I thought. And I had coffee with a commercial insurance agent who has a broad, spectrum of experience in business and with different types of businesses. And she has a client who she's going to hopefully connect me with, who she thinks we would be good partners. And so we'll see where that goes. That was fun. It's nice to connect with people. And then on Thursday afternoon, I had my networking event. I talked about this. I feel like I'm kind of coming into my own in a room full of 50 or 60 people, and being able to speak and share my passion. And I feel like I'm making some good connections there. And so I'm really enjoying it, being outside of my comfort zone, talking about who I am, my business, what we do, why we do it, those sorts of things. So that was really good on Thursday. And then on Friday, worked this morning again on that ceiling plan, working out some of the details, and then had a meeting this afternoon for the client who's doing the owner suite. I talked about this a little bit in a few other videos. So what's happened here is they got pricing on their original scope, and it was more than I thought it would be. It was more than they thought it would be, and they kind of had an idea to reduce the scope and change it a little bit. And so that's what I went to talk to them about, see what it is they wanted to do, and sat down with the wife and just, did some live drawing right there and worked through and got a good option that they're comfortable with. And so, when stuff like that happens, we just rework the fee, give a new fee to continue on, and then we kind of figure out, is it restarting, reworking, what can we use from the previous iteration and the new iteration. And so that's what we did, and I think we have a great solution for them that's a little bit scaled back but still gives them some of the space that they feel like they need. And so that was Friday afternoon, and then now we're headed into the weekend. So that's all I've got for you this week. If you have any comments or questions, leave them below. Oh, I almost forgot. So there was a particular comment last week where someone asked, I mentioned an ICF house, I mentioned solar array, an ERV, and asked some of those questions. So I'll answer that question now. And so ICF stands for insulated concrete form. It's a different way of building walls in a project. It's a layer of foam, concrete in the middle, and then foam, and you have to clad it on both sides, but it's structural and insulated all in one. A solar array is the array of solar panels that you use on a project to collect the sunlight and power the house. And then there was one other question. Oh yeah, the ERV, the energy recovery ventilator, is part of the HVAC and mechanical system, and brings in fresh air, filters it, and then distributes it throughout the house. And so it's a fresh air system that's going all the time and brings in great filtered fresh air constantly to your house. And so another part of that question was, how can we as architects help control cost? And some of that is, yes, we can make design decisions that do that. Like in that case, an ICF wall versus a wood frame wall, cheaper to do the wood frame wall, but the client had already determined they wanted to do the ICF wall. So there's things like that. In material choices, a lot of times, in square footage choices, those are the two places where we can really help control cost. Sometimes if there's a way to position a house on a site or a building on a site, that can help save cost if you don't have to do as many basement or foundation walls, things like that. But really, materials a lot of times can help. We can help control the cost in materials and suggest maybe materials that are more cost effective versus materials that have a longer lifespan but are maybe a little more expensive up front. So there's things like that where architects can really help and stuff. But ultimately, 3 different contractors can probably have 3 different prices and look at things 3 different ways. And that's really a lot of, the experience is that we do our best, our best effort to give a good price, a good starting price, a good budget price. And we know when things go up and things go down, and I try to keep as much of a pulse on the construction industry as I can, talking regularly to contractors with projects that I build, understanding what they end up costing from my drawings so that I have a good understanding there. So there's things like that we really do try to keep projects within budget for our clients. But part of that is starting with an appropriate budget on the front end, so that when there are surprises, or there's a decision to be made of where you maybe as an owner can upgrade something, you have wiggle room in your budget. If you're trying to always get everything down to the bottom dollar for as cheap as possible, it's just not a good way to start a project. It happens, but it's not the best way. You want to have some wiggle room in your budget when you take on any sort of building project. So, because there's always unknowns, and those difficult decisions get emotional when you want a certain finish or a certain type of bathtub or anything like that. So things to take into consideration. So I appreciate the comments from last week. And please leave more, subscribe if you don't mind, if you're enjoying the content. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Thank you.